Hey guys, it's Russell with DieselGiant.com. On today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to change this. A fuel filter on your Dodge Ram diesel. The vehicle that we're going to be working on is a 2001 Dodge Ram 2500 with the Cummins turbo diesel. So follow along as I show you how to get this job done, get it done correctly. On a scale from 1 to 10, I'm going to say this job is a 2.
Alright, so right there is the head of our fuel filter, and I'm going to be using a setup that is 1 1/8 to remove this top piece. Now, depending on the year that you have of your particular Dodge, your fuel filter assembly may look a little bit different. This top is plastic, so just be real careful when removing it. Alright, so here's a little better shot. This plastic piece just unscrews just like that. Now, I don't know if you can hear it, but I can hear the suction brake on the fuel, and what it's going to do is it's going to start draining out the bottom. Alright, so what I do is when I lift that up, I'm just going to kind of let it sit there a little bit and drain out of the paper element. Okay, you can hear it again. I'm just going to let that, so I don't make a mess, I'm just going to let that element sit there for a minute. Now I've got a container here I'm going to use to try to minimize the spillage of fluid, and there it is. Now this element snaps into the cap like so. And if you look in there, really, this element is pretty clean. This fuel filter is not very old. But when you change the new one, you also want to make sure to remember to change this O-ring right here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the O-ring just like that. And I'm going to take the new filter, take the O-ring, and just very gently put it on the cap. Alright, make sure that it's all the way up against this lip. Make sure it's not hanging out on one of these grooves right here. So I just run my finger all the way around to make sure that it's completely at the top. Take a clean paper towel and just wipe that out. Then I'm going to take, now there's two ways to do this. You can take this filter, go ahead and put it down in the element bowl. Oops. Then put this cap on. Or you can put it on first, like that. And this is the way I like to do it. This hole right here has to line up with the shaft, and I'm going to show you this before I put this element in there. At this point, if you have an extractor, and you can see that there's still fuel in there, because it's so clean in there, I'm not going to bother extracting that out. So I'm just going to take our new filter and very gently, I'm going to try to pop it onto the shaft that's sitting up in the bowl. This is kind of hard to do one-handed. There we go. Now, I'm not going to just shove it in there real quick. I'm going to let the diesel fuel that's in there kind of wick up. If I go ahead and just push it directly in there, it's going to splash a lot of diesel fuel back. I'll do it a little bit at a time, and it's soaking up in that. This is going to help your prime time when you go to reprime the system. Okay, so once it's in there, all the way down, all right, I'm going to just hand tight attempt to screw this on. Now here's where a lot of people mess up. If you don't get this on straight and you cross thread these, you're going to be buying a new filter head, which is what this is called, this plastic piece. You definitely don't want to do that. Okay, so you want to be very gentle when you're threading it back on, and do it by hand first, and make absolutely sure that it's flat before you go ahead and tighten it down with your ratchet. Alright, so I've made sure that it was down as far as I could go with my hand, and then I'm going to take my ratchet and just very gently tighten the filter housing up. Alright, if something doesn't feel right, which it doesn't, don't force the thing. Now if you got to do this 10 times to make sure that this is on there square, then make sure it's on there square. Okay, now it feels much better. I had it cross-threaded, even though it felt alright. I can tell because now when I turn it, it's going to be a lot easier to turn. Okay. And that's all you want to do. Okay, so let me focus this back out. So the next thing you want to do is where you're going to find out if your fuel pump is bad or not. Since we depressurized the system, and some of the fuel has drained back to the pump, if I go ahead and crank this, it'll go ahead and start, and then it's going to stall. So what I want to do first is I want to prime this filter and the lines. Now there's still fuel in the lines and in the pump, but from the filter to the pump there's probably a lot of air. So if I start it, it's going to immediately use the fuel that's in the lines, the injectors, and what little is in the pump. It'll start and then it'll die. And I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside the cab of the truck, and I'm going to turn the key to the on position, but not start it. You're going to hear the fuel pump cycle for a couple of seconds and it's going to turn off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to barely bump it, and that'll allow the fuel pump to run, I believe it's for around 30 seconds. I don't know if the camera's picking this up, but you can hear the fuel pump, which is right down there. I have a fast DDRP fuel pump. It's not the original stock one because this truck had 2 stock ones in 2 years. Okay, now you can hear it cut off. So all you do is just turn the ignition back off, turn it back on, and just barely, that's all you want to do. And it'll make that pump run for a little bit of time. Now if your pump is weak or if it's non-functional, you're not going to be able to start your truck because it's not going to fill the fuel filter bowl back up. A lot of people find out that they have a dead pump when they go to do this job. They go ahead and drain the bowl, and you need to do this at least 4 times, I'm gonna say, if your pump's good. You can still hear it running. So after this, because I left the bowl pretty much full, I'm going to go ahead and crank it up for you guys. After our running, I left it run for about 5 minutes. There's absolutely no leakage. Everything is completely dry. I want you to see if I can focus in on this. I don't know what the torque specs of this top cap are, but when you put it on by hand, you'll barely be able to see the edge of the yellow O-ring, and then you'll turn it just a little bit more. This is plastic. This is a bad idea for them to save a few bucks. They should have made this out of aluminum. I'm sure in the Dodge manual there is a torque spec for this, but please don't crank this down too awfully hard. It's better to crank it down a little bit and then let it run and see if there's any leaks. If there's no leaks, it's fine. But this cap, if you're out where you're not near a parts store or a Dodge dealer that has this cap, you can crack this easily. So anyway, that's how you do a fuel filter change on a 2001 Dodge Ram with the Cummins turbo diesel, and I will see you guys on the next video.